Hello, Rock and Roll Daycare community. It's Barb, your curriculum director. It's Tuesday, which means it is our Tuesday Training Tools Day. I hope everyone's having a fabulous week. We missed you last week. We took the week off since it was a short week, and I know that those short weeks can sometimes feel like the longest weeks in terms of trying to get caught up on that one day that we were off. And so we just thought we'd give you the week to recoup, to stay on track with your classrooms and reconvene this week in the month of June. So here we are, a new month, a new theme, and this month we're going to be studying the prepared environment. So again, these may be themes or concepts or learning objectives that you've as a teacher have experienced through your time at Rock and Roll. And this is the point. We do every theme twice a year. So you get that repetition, you get that deeper level of reflection and observation, and then you get to share that with your community and what you've learned. So if you've been on these Tuesday training tools and been hearing about prepared environment, be sure to go ahead and share what you know with your community. And if it's something that you've already learned, then take that as confirmation of your teaching practices and celebrate that and spread that joy. So today I'm actually going to keep it pretty quick. That's the goal always, right? That we can just give you little snippets of information that can help deepen your teaching practices while having a common theme around these discussions. So today we're going to talk about some resources because we're kind of coming out of COVID, right? Like in COVID, we had to really turn a lot of things, a lot of learning materials in our environments, they looked very different. And so when we're now getting, COVID restrictions are relaxing, we can get back into some normalcy. I wanted to take this month to kind of remind everyone what that normalcy was and what the expectations around it were. Because when we were going in, during COVID, we did things differently to obviously, to adhere to the different regulations. But now we get to kind of go back. So I'm going to talk today about our material making checklists and why we use them and why they're important, and just a general reminder around these checklists. Before I get started, I want you to think of this. I want you to think of when you are in a store and you walk in, and I've used this analogy before, and I'm going to use it again because I think it's a good one. And you walk in, and the store is, you're walking in for a certain shirt. Like I'm shopping for a shirt, or maybe because we're doing so much more online shopping, you can think of a different website, right? And how it's designed. And if that store or website is really disorganized, if you walk into that store and the t-shirts are just thrown about on a table with no organization or size, if there's no one there to help you, and if maybe the music's really loud and that's kind of annoying to you, your shopping experience is very, very different than if you were to walk into a store that everything was just organized and you knew, oh yeah, the shirts are on this table, the pants are on this table, such and such is on the other table. And when I go up to this table, I see it's organized by color. I can go down the line and everything is in order of the size. That makes your shopping experience a lot easier and also just a lot more enjoyable. Okay. So when we're setting up our classrooms, we want to kind of have that same mentality of how could I be setting up my classroom that's going to make the learning easier for our younger children? How can I organize it in a way that they don't need, they can walk up to something and see, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And that makes me feel good. And that makes that interaction with that material a little more successful. And we can do this with really small attention to detail throughout our environments. And the material making checklist helps us to look at the small details of how we're setting up each and every material on our shelves to ensure that it is providing independence and order and allowing the child to go up and be, intrigued, like, ooh, I want to work with this. This looks interesting because it's set up in a way that they just want to engage with it. And that's really, really important because there's, again, those subtle details that we sometimes can overlook. And if we're not paying attention to them, then maybe the work isn't set up in a way that is going to promote as much independence. And then the child's not engaging as much with their environment. So every little detail that we're putting into the environment is actually helping your classroom management, because the children are going to be more independent when the environment is set up appropriately for them. So, going back into our quote unquote normalcy and thinking about these resources, one thing I want you to focus on this week is our material making checklist. Your program specialist will have a copy of it if it's not already in your curriculum binder. And if you don't have a copy of it in your curriculum binder, I highly suggest that you go ahead and print it out and put it in there. So every time that you're putting a material out, whether it's Legos or Magnetiles or an original lesson plan that you came up with, or even an infant material that's going on the shelf, you can look at this checklist to say, does it satisfy everything on this list? And if it does, then I know it's appropriate for our philosophy here at Rock and Roll. And I know that there's, a greater chance that the child will be successful with that interaction with the material just based on the way that I set it up. Okay, so I'm going to let you just take a look at those material making checklists. I'm not going to go over it line by line, but you look at it. It's very self-explanatory in terms of how you're going to be preparing these materials, and I want you to start there. I want you to take that list and go around your classroom now that you are setting it up for different regulations with COVID that are a little more relaxed, to say, okay, we do have a little bit, we have a little more options in terms of how we can set up this environment, but are we still using those original resources that have been getting dusty over the last year because we haven't been prioritizing them due to other needs? And the material making checklist will be the first one that I want you to re-engage with. So get that out, get it printed, start talking with your co-teachers, and any time and every time you're putting a material out, follow those guidelines. And then that, like I said, that it will be within the expectations of what our philosophy is hoping to carry out, and also meeting the needs of the children. And that's the most important part. Whenever we talk about anything with prepared environment, it's for the child. Because it's helping the child to succeed in their learning journey, not because it's easier for us, not because it's just a standard that we have, here at Rock and Roll. Everything is for the child, and everything has that meaning and that purpose to help fulfill the needs of the child's learning. So if you have any questions about the material making checklist, or if something's just not making sense, certainly reach out and ask. But that will be your first task this week as we re-enter the prepared environment, as COVID restrictions continue to ease up, and can really start looking at our environments through a different lens, which is really, really exciting. So I hope you have, a lot of fun with this, and you work with your co-teachers, and we will be back here next week to talk more about the prepared environment and how we can be setting it up to help optimize the child's learning in each of your learning environments. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week here on Tuesday Training Tools. Bye-bye.